Yo, what up, Night Nation? A lot of people have been messaging me, asking me about my thoughts on the QB situation. Obviously, we saw JRP go out with an injury on Saturday versus Cincinnati, and that obviously caused, Mikey Keene to come into the game. Obviously, Mikey Keene looked really damn good in relief of the injured JRP, who had a concussion. Obviously the biggest thing is that the Knights won the game in a game that was tightly contested. Mikey Keene came in, did his job, went 15 of 21 for 176 yards. Also added a 9-yard rush. Didn't throw any touchdowns, but ran the offense very efficiently and looked pretty damn good in the process. So now, do we have a quarterback controversy on our hands? Obviously, Gus Malzahn chose JRP in the beginning of the year. He started, the first 8 games. And Mikey Keene, that was the first time he saw the field all season. Thomas Castellanos has been the garbage time QB. So with the fact that Keene came in very efficiently, looked really well, made no mistakes, and helped us win the game against, obviously the biggest opponent of the year in Cincinnati, obviously a ranked opponent, our biggest win in 3 years. It's natural to think, do we maybe have a controversy, a QB controversy on our hands? Is Gus going to consider putting Mikey Keene in the game? Here's how I look at it. I am going to give you 2 perspectives. One is what I think about who should start, and 2 is what I think Gus is thinking based on just my knowledge and what I've seen Gus coach, how he coaches, how he chooses players for the past, year plus. First, my opinion, I think Mikey Keene looked very solid. I think he does deserve a shot to start the next game for UCF. I think the players, his skill players, looked a lot more comfortable under him under center. I think the offense ran a lot smoother. The play calling was still fairly vanilla. Wasn't anything special. Pretty similar to how it was ran last year under Mikey, but it worked. The players seemed calm, comfortable, collected with him at QB. They all seemed to like him as a teammate, as a player, as a man. And the offense, you could just tell, looked smoother. Not as explosive necessarily. JRP can obviously take one off for 40 yards. JRP can obviously sling it down the field. May not be accurate, may be very accurate, very inconsistent. Mikey Keene was just consistent, just a straight line, consistent. Hit his guys, not anything crazy, not any super long passes, didn't make any long runs, just kind of efficiently ran the offense and led us to 2 scoring drives in that fourth quarter. So yes, I do believe because of the comfortability he has with the offense, because of what his skill players say about him and how they looked with him under center, I do believe he deserves to go out there until otherwise dictated. In a perfect world, start him and keep starting him unless he just egregiously, messes up. We have another option, so why not? But it's not a perfect world. There's transfer portals, there's coach decisions, all that. So that's my perspective. Yes, UCF Football Updates believes he should get a chance to start. I don't know if that means the rest of the season, but at least the next game, keep it going with him and how that offense looked under him against some of our tougher opponents coming up. Now, what do I think Gus thinks? I don't really think there is a QB controversy. I think Gus is going to 100% JRP if he's cleared medically, if he's healthy. I think he's immediately getting back his starting spot. Why? First of all, Gus had an entire season of Mikey, an entire offseason of evaluating him versus JRP, and he chose JRP. What did Mikey Keene do on Saturday that he didn't do last year? He was efficient. He hit those out routes always to the sideline, a lot on the right side. Those out routes that are like 30 yards that way, but really only 10 yards up the field. efficiently kind of dinked and dunked his way through the offense. And he hit some decent, a little bit longer, medium balls. But that is exactly the type of offense that we ran last year under Mikey Keene. That's exactly the type of game he kind of had last year, 170 yards, just under 200 yards, not necessarily always a touchdown, but efficiently ran the offense and looked like a game manager. Did he maybe look improved compared to last year? Maybe. It's certainly a possibility that he looked better. Maybe that 9-yard run was nice. Maybe the throws were a little bit longer, smoother, more accurate. I don't know to the naked eye if I saw that, but certainly a possibility. But that looked like the type of Mikey Keene offense that was extremely prevalent last year. The difference was our skill players are a lot better and healthier this year. Last year, he was throwing to the same two guys with a bunch of injuries. This year, he had a multitude of options at both receiver and running back. Gus saw that. Gus knows what Mikey can do and chose JRP. I don't think 3 quarters of the same type of offense, regardless of the result, which was a win, which was an amazing win, is going to get him to change his mind. What did he do that was different from what Gus has seen for the last year and a half that's all of a sudden get him to go, yeah, that's who I want running my offense? No, Gus clearly likes the offense that he perceives UCF can be or is under JRP. Someone that can be a dual threat, run the ball, and make some electric plays. And I personally think he's a little bit stubborn. A lot of head coaches are. It's not an insult, but I don't believe he's going to demote his guy who, at the time of him leaving, I think UCF was up 10-0, if I recall. Maybe he might have gotten injured before that first touchdown, but we were up 10-0. He's 2 games removed from a 7-touchdown performance. I just don't see a concussion where UCF was leading the game and he wasn't playing bad. I mean, JRP actually went 7 of 11. I think just under 100 yards, 70-something yards. He was efficient. It wasn't like he had turned the ball over or something like that. Yes, he's coming off that horrible ECU game, but what would cause Gus Malzahn to make a change here? I just don't see any reason for it because he clearly chose him. He knows what Mikey could do. What Mikey did on Saturday is what he's always done for his entire career at UCF. Maybe he's better now, a year later, a year older, but I would doubt that he improved dramatically from this summer till right now when Gus was watching him play every day in practice and in camp. So to me, I don't see why Gus would make the switch here. I don't think JRP messed up enough in that game, and I don't think he really cares that Mikey had a great game. I mean, I'm sure he's happy for him and all that, but it's the same thing we saw last year. The only caveat to that is, do the players, the receivers, the running backs, the offensive line, do they make it clear and well known, maybe the leaders on the team, the captains like Bowser, like Ryan O'Keefe, hey, we want Mikey under center. We just won this game. This is not the beginning of the year where, all the power to make the decision. This is, we're 8 games in. We want this to be our quarterback, and they take a stand. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know how much power his player have in the locker room, but they do something to make it clear. Mikey is our guy. You need to start him next week, no matter what. That would be the only caveat where I could see maybe Gus says, okay, I'm a player's coach. I'm amenable. I'm a fair guy. Maybe I'll do that. But short of that, I could be wrong. I'm not a prophet here. I just don't see him making the switch. I think he goes right back to JRP. He's a guy that clearly likes a dual threat quarterback in his offense. And at times this season, Gus has been very vindicated. When talk about the Temple game, talk about the second half of the SMU game, where you can make the argument that JRP has continually made improvements. But then, of course, you had the ECU game last week. There's a lot of rumors out there that ECU game had some, the play calling was already known beforehand. So now does that possibly lessen the blame of JRP, especially in Gus's eyes? Maybe. So as much as I think Mikey we should see how the offense runs under Mikey based on what we saw against a very good Cincinnati ranked team that got us one of our biggest wins in recent memory. I do believe he should get another shot, but I just personally don't believe Gus will do that because he's shown he's going to stick with his guy. He chose him over in the summer. he's, despite having, 3 horrible games this year, JRP, the ECU game, the Georgia Tech game, the Louisville game, he stuck with them. And I know that was obviously Mikey hadn't played it all at that point, but I just think if he's healthy, that's going to be his decision because that's what he's shown a propensity to do. So with that being said, we'll see what happens. We're already at game week, a tough test on the road against Memphis. So we'll see. We'll see if some rumors start coming out this week. First of all, JRP has to be healthy for him to even play. But if he is, we'll see. I think if he is, Gus is probably going to shut down any QB controversy pretty quickly here. So we'll see what happens. Charge on, go Knights.